Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax. Except you, that person driving. Sit up and keep your eyes on the road. Your ears, though, can still listen as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
I'm me, Rob. Let's get them sinners on the way.
Oh yeah, it's time to center ourselves. Okay, everybody with me.
Balance,
center. As we try to find our center.
Our center. Isn't in the draft or free agency.
Yes. Namaste, Rob. Namaste.
Mom's the day.
So, yeah, we gotta look at this position here, guys. This is kind of an impromptu, almost like an additional positional look here because we already talked about the offensive line, but at the time we're like, okay, we got Feliciano, we got Gates. We think Gates is probably going to be the center. John Feliciano might be brought back as like a backup kind of guy. We lost them both.
And the only guy that could have starting for us played a game and a half for us starting last year, right? Am I right?
Yeah, and he's never played center.
Yeah. No, he's played. He's played. I think he has 40 snaps under center.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. He's a full-on expert here. Let's send this man to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's experience.
We got some slim pickings here. So, so as always, though, guys, before we get started, we do want to go ahead and give you guys all the news for the day. But before we even do that, we do want to announce we have another sponsor for the program there. So do want to thank my father here, Kevin Davis, for going ahead and supporting us here on the show today and sponsoring the show.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Dad. If you guys are interested in sponsoring the show, as always, it's buymeacupofcoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Again, it's buymeacupofcoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. So let's get right into it with...
Let's go.
It's time for the news.
I don't know why I like that sound so much. I like the sound effects more than the videos even. It's almost like I don't even feel bad for people listening in podcast land that don't get to see the videos because the sound effects are really the best part there.
Yeah.
So we start up today with the fact that the Giants announced, all the NFL teams announced the dates for the upcoming camps here this spring here. So they open up their camp officially on April 17th. OTAs will begin on the 22nd of May. They go the 22nd, the 23rd, the 25th, the 30th, the 31st, and then go into June. They go into the 2nd, the 5th, the 6th, the 8th, and the 9th. Mandatory minicamp then opens up on the in June 13th to June 15th. So some dates to keep an eye on, and I'm kind of curious to see who does or doesn't show up. You know, pretty much everybody showed up to the beginning of camp last year, except for Kadarius Toney. Wonder why he's gone. Yeah.
He must have had a hamstring issue then too.
Yeah, maybe a shoe size issue or a COVID.
Yeah.
Or who knows what it was with this man? Every single 2 seconds it was something new. So
maybe it was his mixtape.
Good riddance there. He was on a he was on a tour of empty stadiums. Something to keep an eye on though, because like I said, last year pretty much everybody showed up. I'm kind of curious if the same happens because that's part of the culture. When we talk about setting up a culture with this team, that's part of culture is having it set up where your guys are going to show up when they got to show up. And it's not when it's mandatory you got to show up. You got to show up from the very beginning. You got to show you're part of this team.
I have faith in this organization and what they've done with these players that everyone's going to show up. Like, I don't think it's going to be like, I guess it's my sister's friend's birthday party. I guess I should go there. No, they're going to be like, no, I got to practice. I got to go.
Now, the key question is, when you say you have faith, is it the George Michaels or the Limp Bizkit version? Because that's
definitely Limp Bizkit.
Damn charade.
And after 2 minutes and 20 seconds, we're gonna go into some weird song that doesn't even make sense to the original version.
Oh yes. Listen, it could be worse. It could be his version of "Who's Behind Blue Eyes" because that was just weird. Yeah, that was weird. So, other Giants news here. Steve Weiss, who usually comes out with some decent stuff on the NFL Network, went ahead and publicly suggested that the Giants pursue one Bobby Wagner, linebacker formerly of the Rams for a much longer time period, formerly of the Seattle Seahawks. And I don't know if Steve just forgot that we signed a linebacker already or what the deal is, because... Yeah.
I mean, Wagner had a great career.
He still is a good player. He's still a good player.
He
I don't say
is.
had. He's still a good player.
I'm not saying that he's not going to have.
You use past tense, good sir. You use past tense.
Well, we're talking in past tense of what he's done, not
He
of
has.
what his future.
It's still going on. He has.
Yeah. Are they playing live right now?
Yes, actually. Let's cut to the film.
Yeah.
Who knows? They're on the West Coast. They have weird times.
Yeah. It's like 6 o'clock or something. Or
who knows? Daylight savings time and all.
Yeah. 7 o'clock to Arizona.
I just don't think you pay, Bobby Okereke, $10 million a year and then go ahead and sign somebody right after him that is like Hall of Fame caliber and think that's going to be okay, But yeah, it's like I said, it's a weird suggestion. So I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's crazy. So
yeah, no, especially with the salary cap, like a guy like that, like you have to pay Wagner. Like he has a pretty solid career going.
Yeah, I mean,
has,
and
so that's a man that's going to get paid, and we just signed a pretty great guy.
Yeah. What's going on there?
The dog opened the door on me.
The dog opened the door on me.
Give me 1 second.
Okay. So yeah, but like I said, I do like Steve overall, but I think he's just way out of left field in this, and I think he was just probably trying to make a sound bite, so to speak, for the network. So I'm going to chalk that up as to that and call it a day. Giants also met with a potential draft candidate as well, and one that they're getting linked to much, much more, and that's South Carolina Gamecock cornerback there, Cam Smith. I said Gamecock. There's a difference. I'm not sure the difference, but there is one. One of them plays games. One of them is serious, okay?
Which one's meaner?
This is not a serious cock. It's a Gamecock. But yeah, we talked about Cam during the episode. We did the positional breakdown for the corners and all. Very positive as far as, a fit into this defense. Very aggressive press man coverage kind of guy. Got decent speed, got decent skills overall. The one knock at him is that he's overly aggressive, if anything. He's sometimes not the best with the tackling at that point, because he goes for the big hit as opposed to just shoring up and getting him there. Goes for the interception sometimes as opposed to just, going for knocking the ball down. And look at this. Oh my gosh, Rob. You made Deb blush. She says, I'm blushing. She's blushing.
Sorry.
And then
just wanted to specify what kind of...
And we got our sponsor of the evening here. My dad is on. Thank you very much if you didn't hear us before. So, yeah, so we got some other news here. We got a former Giant that signed, which that means we're not going to have him next year officially. And this was not a big shocker to me. You heard Shane talk about all, offseason long, they need depth at the defensive line. What does that tell you? That means that it's still an issue. And anybody that was there last year may not be there the following. So I do think that they're going to be, looking to go ahead and basically anybody that was a backup that's a free agent, probably not going to be coming back. And we know that for sure now it includes Henry Mondu, the defensive tackle we had on the roster last season, former Steeler, now going to be a Jacksonville Jaguar. So at least he gets to move on. I never hope that these guys, don't have a career, but, he's somebody that really needed to go. He wasn't up to par what we had, needed. So time for him to go. But now he's gone.
Bye, bye, bye.
Bye.
And the voice of NSYNC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or we could just do.
Goodbye.
Yes, we can just tell them goodbye overall because, yes, he is officially gone.
Sorry.
Gone.
Bye, bye, bye.
So let's go over some of the NFL news as well because we had that quick episode there for you guys the other night, but we didn't go ahead and do the NFL news. We just did the quick Giant news there last night. So let's get into. Boom! Gotta love that explosion at the end. So, NFL news today, the Panthers signed DJ Shark, which is one of the receivers that we talked about as a potential Giant in the beginning of this offseason. And I'm kind of shocked, given his injury history, he's not a Giant.
Yeah,
I mean, he's right up our alley. Very talented, can't stay on the field. This is like, if that's not a Giant, I don't know what is. Oh, it's sad but true. But you gotta like what Carolina is doing here. So I mean, they trade away, DJ Moore and a couple of draft picks, and go ahead and get
McCaffrey.
They traded McCaffrey last year, but I'm saying this offseason. They went ahead and traded away their top flight receiver. They went ahead and traded away draft picks to get the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And then what do? They say, "Damn it, we're gonna have a quarterback now where there's no receivers." So they get Adam Thielen, who's a veteran possession receiver, who's been in the league since 1937 and has just been an amazing player.
It's not that old.
Back in my day, we were.
Back in my day, 7 years ago, I was a top flight receiver.
But he's, we talked about him as far as a guy I didn't want in the Giants, but I mean, he still had 700 yards last year, so it's not like he's doing 200 yards and he's a scrub now. He's a good, dependable receiver.
But he's also playing behind the best receiver last year.
I know. So I'm trying to be positive for Carolina's sake. I don't know why, but I am.
That's what I'm trying to do as well.
But here's what I'm saying
behind the top receiver. So if the top receiver, the number 1 receiver wasn't there, he could have had more yards. But the number 1 target is going to be Jefferson.
But now the number 1 target there, assuming he's healthy, which he pretty much never is DJ Shark, who has been a prior 1,000-yard receiver as well. So you go out in this offseason, you get 2 former 1,000-yard receivers. You go out and get Miles Sanders to be your running back now, so you have a run game. That's a good offseason to give some weapons to a rookie quarterback, who I'm telling you right now, it's going to be CJ. It's going to be CJ. There's no doubt. That's my guess. He was also hurt last year. Everybody was hurt.
Yeah, everyone was hurt.
Everybody hurts sometimes.
No, but I mean, the Panthers.
Thielen was hurt. I forgot about that too. Good call. But
I mean, the Panthers in their defense have made one of the best offseason moves thus far.
Which one is that?
The Panthers?
Yes. Are you saying the trade?
All I'm saying, all together.
Oh, okay. So not that offseason move, they have one of the best off seasons overall.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I'll go on record on saying they've actually had the best off season so far.
Who?
Because they get their number 1 overall pick, the Panthers. They've had the best.
That's what I'm saying.
No, but I'm agreeing with you. We're agreeing. Yeah. We're agreeing. Okay. Damn it.
You took my 1 and put it to the best.
I did. I'm saying that. I'm saying point blank because, they got ahead and got a good coach, a guy who Indianapolis should have never cut. It wasn't his fault at that point that, the team was being crappy. Keep giving him crappy quarterbacks. He's going to do a crappy job. He goes ahead. And plus, how many injuries they have in Indy last year? That should have been a wash year for a guy who had a track record of being a decent coach. But instead, they made the move. So, you go ahead and get, like I said, probably one of the best coaches available. I got to give it to Sean Payton is probably the best because he does have the 1 ring, but still a great coach overall they get. They go ahead and get the number 1 pick in the draft overall, and in the process get rid of a wide receiver that, let's be honest, did not want to be there. Then they go ahead and get 2 of the better receivers that are available on the market in a very, very thin wide receiver market. Then they go ahead and get probably the best running back on the market as well. If you think about the fact that Barkley and Pollard got the tag.
Yeah.
Miles and what Josh Jacobs did too as well. So Miles Sanders was the one untagged quality running back that was out there. So, like I said, a good offseason overall. Probably the best offseason in football so far, I would say.
Thus far, yes.
Yes. So, one person who's having a great day, though, overall, and a great offseason, Lane Johnson, the Philadelphia Eagle, right tackle, got added 1 year, $33.45 million onto his current deal. Yes. I'm just saying. That's a nice payday there. So, and in the process, they got their cap number down this year as well. So they're just kicking the can even further down as always. But yeah, it's I like to keep track of what's going on with the tackles overall because again, next offseason, we're gonna have to go ahead and extend Andrew Thomas.
Yes, but I also wanted to say it's like Philadelphia keeps kicking the can, right?
Yeah, kick the can.
Kicking the can down further, right? Same with Dallas. Boom. Kicking the can down the
Dallas has been kicking the can so long that they're going to have to pay $60 million to Dak Prescott next year if he's actually still on the team.
And if you just look at the cap alone, granted, it's still going to expand, but these guys, these teams, organizations are going to have to pay these players, and they're not going to be able to pick up players. They're going to be pretty much stranglehold by the cap.
I once had a cap this big.
Yeah. Now it's this big. But
yes.
What are the Giants doing this year? Right? They're lowering the cap space. They're getting good players, right? That's because they just came off that same problem I'm just talking about. Like the cap space is humongous.
Yeah. They're both going to eventually have to pay that piper.
And it's going to be some good years for the Giants coming forward.
I hope so. My dad points out as well. He wants to give give our ex-GM some credit for not drafting Sam Darnold there, who obviously was a Panther last year. And yeah, I'm not giving that man any credit for that move whatsoever because he still got Barkley. He still could have traded down and still gotten Barkley, but we're not going to beat that dead horse. That horse has already been turned into Alpo years ago. Elmer's Glue Alpo special there. So we also got the Vikings, Harrison Smith, who we talked about before as being somebody who might be a cut candidate, even though he spent literally a dozen, I'm not even hyperbolizing this time, a dozen years with Minnesota Vikings. He took a pay cut today officially to stay with the team, though. So there goes that option for us if we wanted to pick up a veteran safety. The Bills are rumored to be interested in DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know. Maybe it's just they feel like something needs to get them over the hump.
I was about to say, like, you got an elite quarterback.
But I guess maybe that's like they need a wide receiver too, and that's the weird thing. Yeah. They let go of Hodgins, who we pick up, and he becomes a legit wide receiver 2-3 kind of guy for them that they could have had. They got picked up Cole Beasley towards the end of the year, hoping to get something from the scrap heap from him. I don't know. just draft a wide receiver. Don't pay like another $20 million for another wide receiver.
Maybe the Bills' problem is they don't know how to coach their receivers because, like, Beasley, like, especially I want to give him credit because he was in Dallas, like, he's a good receiver.
Or maybe all's not well with them and Stephon Diggs. I mean, he's been known to have issues and want to leave places that happen in Minnesota.
Touche.
So we'll have to see how that plays out because we're not going to know until he goes crazy on social media or something happens. That's what's going to happen.
And then he goes to Vegas.
And my dad says the Cardinals need to pick up $10 million of Hopkins' salary to trade him. They probably do, and they probably will, is the scary part. Because they're not looking to do much of anything next year except for build to the next year because they're not going to have a legit Murray back. He got hurt towards the end of the year. Even if he's back at the end of the year, he's not going to be himself. Yeah. So the Cardinals need to be building up for the following year. It's almost like a
it's like a wash
practice. It's a wash.
It's scrimmage.
We're talking about practice here.
Practice. Just want to playoffs. Just want to win a game.
So we also had the Packers re-sign Justin Hollins, though, linebacker that we had in for a visit last week. So obviously that's not going to happen. No word as far as if he just preferred the Packers, if the visit didn't go well or anything like that there. The Bucs released their Super Bowl winning kicker, Ryan Suckup, I can tell you from being down
He's
here in the
such a
Tampa
suck
Bay
up.
area, he is a suck up. No one likes him. But that was a big deal for them. That's that they really like that guy. So interesting. He'll probably pop up somewhere else in the league,
100%.
obviously. But
Not to talk about kickers, but he's
Yeah.
definitely been one of the stand-up kickers for the past 10 years.
he's been a pretty good guy there. So we also have news on our former head coach Joe Judge, who officially somehow willed his way from a quarterback coach that ruined a quarterback that had a good first year, ruined an offense that looked pretty good the year before as well. At least decent with the run game, and not as with the passing game, but decent enough. And he just effed the whole thing up between him and Matt Patricia. And what do? They make him the assistant head coach of the team now.
Assistant.
He put the ass in
Yes.
assistant. That's for
Yes.
damn sure. His dev ass. You heard any rumors about Aaron Rodgers leaving Green Bay? You know
There's
what?
been a lot of rumors.
They're at a standoff. Like they're like
Yeah.
you know like when you're watching that like spaghetti western and all of a sudden it's like doo.
You literally just stole the words out of my mouth.
It's like
Hey,
you know what it is?
stand up.
The Packers are sitting there going, "You need this guy. You don't have a quarterback." And the Jets are sitting there saying, "You don't need this guy. You have two quarterbacks, and he doesn't want to play for you anymore." So it's kind of like, who's going to blink first? They're playing a game of chicken here.
Yeah, pretty much. And
Up,
Eh.
up. She says, "Just kidding, guys. I'm so sick of hearing about him."
whack. Let's not talk about it.
Okay, listen. No one can be sick of hearing Aaron Rodgers because it's going to be entertaining. You're going to miss him when he's gone. Okay, when he retires, you're going to miss this man because this is probably the only person in NFL history that goes on a yoga retreat, sticks himself in a hole, and all of a sudden decides he wants to still play in the NFL. Like, this is unique. This is different. You'll probably never see this again. Okay. As my
They're
dad
going to
chimes
make
in,
a comedy movie about this guy.
the Jets should call their bluff and bring in Lamar. Listen, the Jets should just say screw it and bring in Lamar. He's the better option. This is for a visit. No, I'm
And
not saying for
younger.
a visit. I'm saying get him. Especially if you have to give up a first-round pick to get Rodgers like the Packers want. I'd rather give up the extra first-round pick and get Lamar, who's, 26 years old?
That's what I'm saying. Literally, like half the not literally half the age, but close to half the age of
Yeah, he's not Tom Brady.
yeah.
He was, I believe, 39, Rodgers is. I mean, you're still
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
13
he's-
years younger. I mean, he was a teenager when Lamar Jackson was born,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
which
Like,
means he could
Aaron
technically...
Rodgers is pushing 40, so like you're looking at a guy that's going to play a few more years in the NFL compared to a guy that could play another 10.
Yeah. I mean, like, Aaron Rodgers could have had an affair with his teacher, and Lamar Jackson could be his child.
Oh,
Like, that's-
jeez.
I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
wrong.
I'm not saying. Hey, listen, it happens in the news like 5 times a year.
Yeah.
It does. I don't know why it does. Mostly because the guys
Did you
who
ever hear
exactly
about
can't
the-
keep their mouth shut.
Not to bring up our school, but you ever hear about like one of those teachers from our school that did something like that, and it wasn't me, and I flat was like, was I not good enough looking? Was it my grades?
I'm not going to get into details because now you're talking about things that involve minors and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I don't even know which one you're talking about. I know of 2 others.
I don't want to put too many details, but all I'm saying, it happened in our school after I left.
Like I said, I
And
know
was-
of 2 scenarios. So,
and-
yeah.
It wasn't me, and I was just like, I would have kept my mouth shut.
Yeah, those ones I know are after I was out of the school, and it wasn't me either, so we're good.
Yeah.
So,
Moving
all right.
on.
So next topic: Tony Pollard officially signs his franchise tender. So the interesting thing going to be is when does Saquon sign his? Because he hasn't signed his yet. I don't see what other option he has at this point. I mean, no running back's gotten even near $10 million a year. Just sign the franchise tender or sign an extension and move on. Like, you've already gotten a better offer, and you already turned it down in the offseason. And can I just give this as a a message to all Giants players, even though probably none of them are listening or watching.
Probably not.
If someone could share this to any that they know, first
No
off,
one
come
listen
on.
that knows someone that knows someone that
Yes.
knows someone that
Yes.
knows someone that's
Like
playing.
a fifth
for the
degree of
Giants.
Kevin Bacon of like
Yeah.
Jamie Gillum. But I'm going to say this: if you are a New York Giant and you're coming up on a contract year, and you look at what happened to Saquon, and you look at what happened to Julian Love, stop listening to your damn agents. If you want to stay a Giant and they offer you good money, it may not be exactly what you want, but take the goddamn offer, because what bird in the hand is worth two in the bush or something like that, whatever that phrase is. Because Julian Love got offered more than $6 million in the midseason, didn't take it. He got last I heard was like $8 or $9 million he got offered by the Giants to stay a Giant. He didn't take it. Now he's getting 2/3 the money, and he's in a totally different city that doesn't want to be, where the only thing they're known for is rain, throwing salmon, and having burnt coffee. Okay. So it's the truth. Let's call it what it is. What would you rather be playing in New York, the biggest city, the biggest market in the entire country, or Seattle? You might as well be in Canada. And then you got Saquon, who was offered, like $12 million a year is the rumor.
Yeah, 12 and a half or something like that.
On what I never heard a time frame, but it probably was a 3 or 4 year deal. And instead, now he's staring down the barrel of a 1 year, $10 million contract. Take the damn money, guys, when you get offered the money, because you never know what the future will hold. And either one of those guys could have also gotten hurt at the end of the year and had their career be over. Take the money when you can get the money, unless it's BS.
Listen, we understand. All right, Barkley, you had a fantastic year, but the 2.5 prior years, you're gonna have such a good year. So, why be greedy? Take the money.
Come on, take the money and run.
When listen, you're in the fine tune of 0.5% of people that make $multi-million a year in America. Take the goddamn money.
Yep. And my dad chimes in with, if Bijan Robinson is available at 25, draft him. Imagine the running game with Saquon, Bijan, and DJ. And I'm going to say this. If that's the case, I'm trading Saquon. I'm not paying $10 million to Saquon to be a split back that takes up only some of the carries.
I disagree. I think you have to keep him, because you don't know how what's his face is going to play next year. You have to
listen. You never
to
know. That's the beauty of the NFL. You never know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have to do it for at least 1 year, and then you have the option later in the year.
All right.
Till the trade deadline.
So let's get into back to centering ourselves. Goose fraba.
Salami and bacon.
Pork, leg and cheese, salt, pepper, ketchup.
Everything bagel.
Or a hard roll. So we're so Jersey. So as we said, guys, the center position has become from a position we want to upgrade to a position we have nobody at. That's basically what's going on. We need to upgrade. We need to upgrade because there's a no grade right now.
Yeah.
there's no one there. I mean, like I said, I wanted to upgrade this position this offseason as it was. Anybody who watches the show, has watched the show during the season as well, or even listens back then, we weren't on video yet then, knows that I am not a huge fan of John Feliciano. And I am very, very happy that he's not a Giant any longer. He cost us the first game against the Commanders, point blank. We should have won that game outright. It should never have gone to a tie with his whole flexing thing.
I was about to say, he had to show off those biceps.
Had to show off those lack of biceps. Just saying. He's a bigger guy. He's a strong guy, yes, but there's a layer of blubber in between where it's harder to.
You need the extra padding over there, man. You're taking a lot of weight at you.
He's like a walrus. So he's gone. Nick Gates, I wanted to keep, but again, I've said it on record before, and I'll say it again. The Commanders paid him way too much money. They paid him $5 million a year. They're starting centers that were signed this offseason that are so much better than Gates. have a better track record than Gates, don't have the injury concern that Gates has after the major surgery and major issues he had with that leg injury, which that part's not his fault, but it's still part of the equation. And those guys were still getting the same kind of money as he got, $5 million a year. So we're going to go over with you guys some options. We have some guys we can sign. We have some guys we can, well, have one guy, I should say, we could trade for. That's been rumored to be up for trade. And we also have, of course, the option of internal players. And we also have the option of drafting a center. So I'm going to go over with you guys first the options here for free agents that are currently just walking the streets. So let's go over those guys first. So the big one I keep on hearing is Ben Jones. That's the biggest one. What's we got John Anderson here. Sorry guys, I was oming chanting, but I'm here. Okay. My dad says draft a center. Listen, if we just said draft a center, it'd be a very boring episode, wouldn't it?
Listen, I've already said it the past 2 episodes. So.
Everybody draft a center. See you guys on Monday.
Yeah. Gotta go.
But you know what? Honestly, I think it's a combination we're going to end up doing. Not to be a spoiler guy here and give that, but let's go over the options. Because like I said, Ben Jones is the guy we keep on hearing nonstop. Ben Jones this, Ben Jones that. I'm one of the very few guys that'll tell you I don't want Ben Jones. And I think I'm the first one with any kind of podcast to say it, because anytime I hear people talking about the center position on any kind of podcast or, you know, any kind of YouTuber or anything like that, it's always, oh, we should look at Ben Jones. He's got a track record. The guy's a Pro Bowler, blah, 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 blah.
The talent is there. The cost is there. But also the age is there.
Oh, the age is definitely there.
So, like, the pros.
There's also some other concerns too.
I think the cons outweigh the pros because, like, yes, he's a high caliber center, but wasn't he on IR last year?
So yeah, and that's where I was going to get to. So the man had 2 concussions within a month, and they put him in the IR and ended the season.
Yeah. So the dude's got scrambled brains. He's up there in age.
Scrambled brains. Wow. He's not an egg. This is what we get for talking about pork roll sandwiches.
Yeah. My mind's on eggs right now. I'm sorry.
But I mean, you just never know with those guys. Some of those guys come back and they're fine. You know, later on down the line, they usually pay repercussions for that kind of thing. But they're fine for the time being. Other guys come back and they're seeing double vision. They're never the same. They're afraid of the next hit. So we don't know. But the guy's going to be 34 years old, guys. 34.
And also, prior to this year, was he not talking about retirement?
And there we go. It's almost like you looked at my notes.
It's almost like it's almost like I read your notes before the show. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, do you want a guy that prior to this year coming in said, "I think I might retire," does not retire, gets concussed? It's almost like he kind of knew he was 100% healthy, and then got concussed twice, didn't play. Yep. Do you want that guy to come over here? Like, there's a lot. It
also makes you wonder, though, at the same point, though, is does he want to play? That's part of this equation. Yeah. Does he want to play? Because I'm telling you right now, if I thought about retiring and I play another year and I get 2 concussions back to back and I get cut by the team that was going to pay me a lot of money,
I probably don't want to play. I might hang up my hat.
Yeah, I'm not so sure I play. Let's see, we got a couple more comments here with John S. Anderson coming in with, get the guy that is in the middle that hikes the ball to the QB, whatever they call that position, LOL.
That's a whole program we're talking about.
They call that the center. It's time to find our center.
Flicking my boogers.
Deb Ellis comes in. Realistically, how long does it take for an O-line to gel? Hear that a lot. Can that happen quickly? Honestly, Deb, that depends on the line. But a lot of the better lines you see out there, a lot of those guys have been together for multiple years. Because those guys then don't even have to look over to their side. They know exactly what's going on. Yeah, they know what those guys do.
It also depends. Like, so if that O-line shows up in May and starts practicing right away, playing together.
We're talking about practice.
Talking about practice. But, like, seriously, like, you practice like you play. So, like, so to say, like, you understand the guy's movements to your left and to your right. And if you're on the edge, to your left or your right.
To the left.
But you understand.
To the right.
But you understand
To
those
the left,
movements.
to the left,
So, like,
to
if
the
you're in the
left.
center,
Do,
you know what the guy on your left's going to do, the guy on the right's going to do. Like, you understand those movements.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes to. Like, so, like, playing years together, like, the guy to your right kind of goes to his right a little more than to his left.
Yeah.
But you understand you have to pick up over here. Like, it all depends. Like, if you ever work with someone that, you gel with, like, right away, it's the same thing. They're at work.
Yeah. Well, it's also like you'll see some lines get together, and just by the end of the year, they've already gelled at that point too. So, the big thing is going to be how healthy can they stay? How successful can the offense be? Because that does get them extra reps. There's a lot of parts of that, and there's also plenty of people that'll tell you that played the position that. Part of it is them spending time outside of football even and kind of gelling in that way and having that kind of relationship too. So there's a lot of factors into it, really.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I'm going to give a thumbs down and a no on Ben Jones. How about you there, Rob? Give him a thumbs up, thumbs down.
2 thumbs down.
2 thumbs down. Ooh, we got 3 thumbs down. There's only 2 of us here. Next up, we have Connor McGovern. And now keep in mind, that's not the Connor McGovern that just signed with the Bills, because it gets very confusing that there's 2 Connor McGoverns and they both play offensive line in the NFL. I think one of them should just be a nickname. Like, one of them should be called Connie or something. Like, I don't know. Yeah, the Guff. Actually, this Connor goes by the name the Governator on Twitter, actually. So,
fantastic.
Yes. 29 years old, 6-year vet, played 3 years with the Broncos, then played 3 more with the Jets. So obviously you guys that follow New York football are very familiar with this guy. Above average center, not the, oh my God, this guy completes our team center. I don't want to make it overplay that, but he's an above average, legit professional center. So I think he's a good option if for some reason he doesn't get the money he wants and starts dropping his pants down, so to speak, as far as his price, Like,
yeah,
he goes, like, hey, look, I wanted $7 million, but nobody's offering me that. They didn't want to give me $4 million. Like, okay, let's give him $4 million.
Yeah.
Because here's the part of it is, I don't care as far as if we draft a center as far as this part. I want to get a guy who's played this position in the NFL. Because worst case scenario, he's a guy who will be able to go ahead and mentor the guy.
And that's what I was getting at with Ben Jones. Like, he's a good mind to get into the camp, but I think his age and his physicality, like, he's a physical guy, but not in football.
Yeah.
But you want to get a guy that could maybe mentor a future center.
Because of, as my dad says here, and the center is involved in coordinating the blocking. I mean, these guys did that in college, obviously, as well. The guys that we're going to talk later on about drafting potentially. But there's a big difference. There's a big jump from the NFL, from the college ranks to the NFL. So, luckily, most of the guys 100%. We're going to talk about came from bigger schools, so it's not like they played at West Texas, Christian, Carolina, A&M University. So, but like I said, there's still a jump. There's still a good learning curve there. So to have a guy that's been in the league for a few years that can help mentor him, even have him sit behind for a little bit if need be. Even if the guy goes to play guard for a little bit at that point while he learns to better what the center this year is doing. It's a good idea, at least in my own mind there. But Connor McGovern, I'm going to go a little sideways. Not an up, not a down. It all depends on how much money he wants.
Yeah, but you took it from me.
Yeah, and I think he's going to want too much money, so I'm keeping it to the side. But if his price comes down, it's an up. If his price doesn't come down, it's a down.
100%.
So, alrighty. Next one. Rodney Hudson. Yes, he's still playing in the league. Another 34-year-old, 12-year veteran and 3-time Pro Bowler. Had a lot of knee problems and only played in 4 games this season. If that doesn't sound like a Giant, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
Knee problems? Have you met the rest of the team? Oh, yes, we met at the doctor's waiting room.
We all have surgery together.
We all have the same orthopedic surgeon.
Yeah.
But so the Cardinals actually expected him to retire. And I read that a while ago, and he thought about retiring. Another guy thought about retiring last year. And then what happened was all of a sudden he just decided not to, had the knee injuries, and they're not sure what he's doing. But he hasn't announced anything yet. So I got to put him on this list because of the fact that he's got that kind of experience. 12-year veteran, guy who's played the position pretty well for a long period of time with Chiefs, with the Raiders, with the Cardinals. If he wants one last hurrah, by all accounts, he's a very good teammate. He's a very good guy. So, why not give him the shot again if the money is right? But I'm going to give a thumbs down because of the injury history, and I don't want another injured player. Where are you at, Rob?
I already gave a thumbs down as soon as you said his name.
Okay, there we go. Thumbs down again. We've not been very positive about these guys.
It's no disrespect. Like, he had a great career, but Giants are injured enough without getting any more injured players.
Yeah. I'm going to give you guys now the guy that I'm about to give 2 thumbs up for.
Oh. Are you giving my thumbs up?
No, you can use your own thumbs.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
So,
yeah,
I'm going to go with Pat Elflein. So, he's a little younger, 29 years old. So, he's still in his 20s. I mean, keep in mind, you got centers that play into their, early 30s. So, sometimes mid-30s even at that point. So, we can have him for a few years potentially. But what I like about him is he plays guard and center. So, let's say, hypothetically, if we go ahead and draft a center, this is a guy that we can put on the guard the next season if need be. I like the versatility. So the one issue I have with him is he's coming off a hip injury that took a lot of his year away from him. So I need to see the medicals, and I'm not going to, obviously, before I make a final call. But assuming that the injury is okay, then I'm all about going for another year, another contract, maybe a couple of years. Again, convert him over to a guard the second year because he's played both at the NFL. It's not he's played both in college. He's played both at the NFL. And he's played both well. He even played both for the Carolina Panthers. Last year he was a guard. The year before he was a center. So they liked him enough. They were talking about doing an extension with him until the hip injury even too. So, it's an interesting guy to look at there. So, like I said, I think a guy that I really do think it's a guy we should look at.
Yeah, he gets a thumbs up for me. Granted, the hip injury does scare me a little bit, but he's a veteran guy. He's 29. He's not super old, like you said. And he could be a good mentor going forward. And he's versatile.
Yeah, so I think the big thing is that the age is a factor for me. The fact that he's got the versatility, I think that's a big thing for me. So again, assuming the hip is good, I want him. Yeah, I don't know that obviously either way, but assuming the hip is good, I want him. So yeah, let's. I'm gonna give I'm giving 2 thumbs up.
I'm giving 1 thumbs up.
Okay, so we got 3. That's still good. The next one is another interesting option. Sam Mustipher, who's 27 years old, so the youngest of this bunch here. Started the last 3 years with the Bears at center. Not the best center. I'm not trying to overplay the hand here on what he is. But he's going to be young, he's going to be cheap, and he's going to be a guy who's got some experience. So I think he's going to be an interesting, guy to look at as far as
cost.
Here's my whole thing. Is he could be a depth piece that we have in the back pocket, so to speak, if whoever we draft doesn't play very well or needs some time to develop. The other option that we have, I'm going to put another guy in that same exact ballpark here, is Billy Price. Remember Billy Price that we had last year? The year before. So we talked about Rodney Hudson before, and when he was out, Billy Price was the center. And this is a guy who's got some rapport with some of the players that are on the roster. Again, he's not the best center in the world. But he's a guy who's played guard. He's a guy who's played center. He's a guy who could be a depth piece for us. Who can go ahead and start if he needs to. And like I said, because he's got some rapport, I think he's a good option there. So I'm gonna say I'm kind of grouping the two. That's why I didn't ask thumbs up, thumbs down, as far as that. So we're gonna go ahead and do. I want to call it like more of a category because there's a couple of guys that fit into this category. I just used the two. So this is guys that could be cheap options that are depth pieces that could also go ahead and be an option for us if we decide to go ahead and get a a guy that maybe needs a little time to develop, or we get the guy into camp and figure he needs to develop when we draft him. So I'm going to give the thumbs up to that option because if Elfline's injury is bad, that's probably our best option at this point because everybody else is pretty much a geriatric center.
Yeah. When it comes to Price and Sam, the age is right. The play is so. So, like, that's where my thumbs are.
Yeah.
It's like so.
Like I said, it's not exciting.
If the price is right, not like Bob Barker.
Which Price? The Billy Price?
Like, yeah, exactly. Listen, we could turn around and sign him for 3, 2.5.
I don't think it takes that much. I think like $1.5 million, kind of $2 million tops kind of players we're talking.
Yeah,
I really do. I'm not suggesting we go out and pay these guys $3 million because if that's the case, we should pay $2 million more and get a guy like Elfline or Connor McGovern or something like that we can get that kind of money too, because that's been the going rate for some of these centers that have been starters that already were signed. So I don't feel the need to go out and pay this guys a lot of money. But if you want to take a minimum deal and come to camp and let's see what you got, then why not?
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, like we said, they've been in the league. They got the experience.
Yeah. Well, so we got a couple more
jump
comments.
Some of the young guys.
We got some other comments. My dad says, "Don't assume that every veteran makes a good or willing mentor," and that's not wrong at all. That's definitely not, and that's part of the conversation you have when you talk to guys about what their role is going to be with the team. That's for sure. He says also, "Why do we want anyone off somebody else's scrap heap? Because they're cheap." And to be very frank, yes, because they're cheap. We don't have that much more money to go. But on top of that...
And we also have no one to play there.
But on top of that, that's the options. The best centers are gone. And here's the scary part. A lot of these guys I mentioned are still an upgrade from John Feliciano. And I'm not just talking about myself, my own opinion. I'm talking about PFF rankings and all that kind of stuff. So why not give an upgrade on a cheap option and hope you have even a better upgrade available in the draft? I think it's a smart move. You're hedging your bets. You have multiple options for a position that's kind of important there. John S. Anderson, is Sean O'Hara's son old enough to play center yet? Does he have a son that plays football? And I don't even know this because that'd be new to me there. I'm going to have to look that one up there. But yeah, it's... Listen, I you know my opinion on that kind of stuff. Anytime I can get somebody whose family was involved with the team or anything like that, I'm always going to say go ahead and get him. Let's see here. I'm not even seeing anything about a Sean O'Hara's son. As far as I feel like I've been fooled and bamboozled here. And
a little bit, man.
I'm also seeing pictures of Sean O'Hara and his wife and little children. So yes, apparently this 7-year-old is not old enough, John, to play in the NFL yet. You know, give him about 15 more years and we can draft him. Maybe it seems. He always gets us.
Yeah.
He has a son and 2 daughters. Yes, okay, but they're young, John. They're young.
So the answer is no. They're not old enough to draft.
Yes, they're not by the pictures I've seen, unless they're very very small children that just haven't grown with the years like they should have, and they're malnutrition. If that's the case,
and if that's the case,
shame on you, Sean.
Too small to play in the NFL.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to play center. That's for sure. Yeah. That's the biggest guy usually on the field, at least weight-wise. Now, we also have another guy that we already talked about before that did visit in J.C. Hasenauer, who was a backup for the Steelers last year. Another guy who also played at least a few games as a starter, was a backup even at college in Alabama. We talked about that as well. Undrafted in the NFL and made it on the squad there. Again, if they want to bring him in as a camp body, I'm going to put him in the same boat as I talked about with Billy Price and Sam Mustipher. Like anybody you want to bring in as a camp body as a minimum deal, I'm perfectly fine with that because every year you sign guys to those kind of roles that don't make it out of camp or end up on a practice squad. So if that's what you want to do and that's who you think is the best guy for that kind of position, then roll with it. They got more info than you and I do. So I'm all cool with it.
And look what our coaching staff did with scrub players last year. So
seriously,
I'm 100% okay with that.
Looking back at it now, who was excited about Isaiah Hodgins being signed?
No one.
No one, exactly.
Richie James?
Richie James? Yeah. So now there's also one guy who's available by trade. And his name is Ryan Kelly of the Colts. 30 years old, 7-year vet, Pro Bowler in 20 and 21. So he's probably the most talented guy we're going to talk about here because, you know, when healthy and a couple of years ago, Ben Jones was in that same category, but Kelly is still healthy and he's 4 years younger. That's a big thing. That's a big thing. 4 years is a lot of years in football. That's a lot of beating.
Especially at the center.
Oh, yeah. So here's my concern with him is I don't mind trading for a guy like that, but not at the cap number he's at right now. It's got to be an extension done, or there's got to be a renegotiation. And obviously, everything always depends on what you want for him. You know, see, we talked about Rodgers before. There's a negotiation there. So we're looking at, here's his cap numbers. I looked it up, and I did over the cap for you guys. I also took out the money that he is on the payroll for right now as far as a signing bonus, because he still has like $5.5 million due to him over the next 2 years in signing bonus cap wise. He got that money in the beginning handed to him, but the cap wise, that's still being hit year by year the way the cap works there. So in 2023, this upcoming season, he would cost us $10.125 million. Next year, 24, he'd be costing us $12.375 million. So, yeah, so we got to figure out that as far as money wise, if we're going to look at him, because that's the biggest obstacle for me to be able to say, yeah, let's do this, because you're not going to give up a high pick for a 30-year-old center that you got to pay a lot of money to. Let's be honest. So if we give up like a 4th round pick and get a guy like this, we can get an extension done, get his number down, and make it fit and make it make sense. Yeah, who wouldn't want that?
Yeah.
Sign me up. I just don't see that happening because I don't see anybody going, I can make $12 million next year, or I can make $8. I just don't see it.
Yeah, maybe just take a third of a pay cut.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the big thing is the pay. Like, can we figure out a way to go ahead and get that to stop? Because it's just, you know, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to be using at that point on a guy who's a center like that. He's a good player, but do we have another $10 million to put on a player like that? I just don't know what we can do overall to move the more money around, unless we go ahead and, like, let's say we restructure Leonard Williams finally, and that's what we do with that money. And there's worse plans, that's for sure, than that. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's another guy we should look at there. But again, it's all about if the money makes sense or not, you know? As my dad strikes it, with more players may be available after the draft. And that's definitely the case. I mean, it always happens every year, just no matter what quality they are. And John S. Anderson get vets for depth and cheap, but we need straight up smart, strong, beast mode mother effers to beef up the O-line.
It's great.
And Deb says, yes, what John said. My dad says, no more trades till after the draft. Like I said, it all depends on what the offer is. Again, if they want like a 4th round pick and we can rework the deal ahead of time with him, I'm okay with trading for Kelly.
Yeah, if the money makes sense.
Because he's still going to play for a few years for us. He's not 34, 35 like some of the guys we're talking about here. He's 30. Centers play, like you said already, to their low to mid 30s. So you figure 3 to 5 more years out of him. Most fourth round picks. How many busts have we had in the fourth round?
That's what I'm
Again,
saying.
using that as a possible, but I'm just saying
I'd be even okay, like saying like a third pick, like a third round pick or something like that. Like if the money makes sense and you're going to have this guy for like 3 years and he can mentor another center down the line, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
at least it solves the position for a few years.
Yeah, you get a guy that that's a high caliber player. You're going to draft a center, but if you trade before the draft and get this guy, now you don't have to look at a high center draft pick. Then, it's not a necessity to draft it.
Yeah.
And then now you're not picking for necessity. You can pick for a player.
Oh, yeah. As my dad chimes in with trade 2024 draft picks, not 2023. I'm mixed on that because that's kicking the can right there as well, though, at the same point. So, I mean, we could talk about, we need the picks, but one of the picks we're going to use is a center right now. So if we use a pick instead to trade for a center, I don't see the difference, to be very frank.
Yeah.
So, especially because if we go to get a starting center in the draft, it's going to be one of the first 3 rounds. It's going to be one of the, the day 1, day 2 picks. If we can get a 4th round pick instead, how much does it look different if we get rid of a 4th round pick? We get a legit starting center, a guy who is a guy that's been a Pro Bowler, a guy that we trust is going to just man that spot and knows what he's doing right off the bat. And then we can go ahead and now we have 3 picks, those quality picks that we can use on center. We can use on, cornerback. We can use on, wide receiver, and we can go ahead and maybe get a guard. We can maybe go ahead and get a linebacker, a pass rusher, a running back to go ahead and combo with Saquon. It gives us so many more options. A 4th round pick, those guys half the time, we don't even keep them on the roster for 3-4 years. So to me, I think it's different there. And as he says, money is the difference between a 30-year-old and a 22-year-old. And money is the problem. And that's why I said we'd have to rework the deal. We would have to. If he doesn't want to rework the deal, then I'm not interested. Because I'm not paying the guy $10 million this year and $12 million next year. It's not going to happen. That's way too much money to pay a center. That's not the going rate. The market is not there. And I guarantee you right now, if he was cut, he would get nowhere near that right now. He'd get maybe $7-8 million. So, like I said, we'll have to see there. Now, we have the internal options as well to go ahead and talk about there. So, Ben Bredesen is the guy we keep talking about as our starting center if the season was to start right now. And I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure at that point that that's a guy to go with because he's really never played the position.
He's had a handful of snaps at it.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable giving the guy the starting spot who's barely ever played the position, who snaps the ball, we talked about, reads the defenses, stuff he's never had to do before. I don't mind him as a backup center. Yeah, I don't mind taking him as a backup center like that to be, a depth piece and say, okay, maybe we just need the one center and let him learn the position a little better. But he's not the guy that I'm going to go and give the starting job to, that's for sure. The other option that they talk about as far as on the roster is Shane Lemieux. When we drafted him initially, they talked about him being a center, along with playing the guard position. He can't even play the guard position right now. He can't stay healthy. Every single time this man sees the field, he gets injured again. Every single damn time. So I'm done with it. I don't want to plan for this guy. To me, he's not going to be on the team next year. He's going to be cut. Because in the end, if I can't, see you on the team, if I can't see you on the roster, then I'm not going to plan for you to be one of those guys that I'm going to put on the field on a starting position. So when I hear guys talk about him being the starter, to me that's just absolutely insane. Like, Shane Lemieux can be nowhere near the damn field as a starter because he can't even stay on the field. So to me, he's not a good option. Again, if we want to use Ben Bredesen as a backup center, I'm fine with that. But I'm not going to give the starting job to a guy who has pretty much never played the position or to a guy who can't stay on the field. Neither one of those are good options. Point blank.
Jalen Mew?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
How many games did he start last year?
I think he started 1 or 2. No, that's right. He started 1. He came back from injury, played the 1 game, got hurt all over again. The same thing he does every single time. He's just here so he doesn't get fined.
Yeah. Skittles.
There's 2 options here. Either he doesn't love playing, he's just collecting the checks, or he's just brittle. Neither one is a quality I want to have in a football player. Goodbye.
Or a piece of glass.
That's what I'm saying. Or he's brittle. So I'm good. Don't need him. Goodbye.
Especially in the center, you need a tough mother effer.
Yeah, exactly. Like he'll be there. So it's time to say
Goodbye.
But yeah, like I said, not a guy I want to even see on our roster there. All right, so let's go into the big thing that everybody wants to do: drafting a center. As Deb says, for the first round, would you go number 1 wide receiver or center? My dad follows up with the correct answer to a degree. Take the best available between wide receiver and center. I'm going to throw in cornerback with that as well.
Yes. Stole the words right out of my mouth, Drew.
Must have been while you were kissing me.
It was. It was off camera, though. But I mean, I would even say, like, I would take a quarterback over a receiver at this point.
Well,
we already kind of set up what we're gonna do with our offense next year. Like,
yeah.
So, like, we kind of know the scheme of what they've already done this offseason, what they're already expecting to do. So, like, I want to see quarterback or center.
So let's look at this real quick and what the kind of break down the question here. So the first option was number 1 wide receiver. The first thing on that is, who do you consider a number 1 wide receiver? You got Johnson from TCU. You got Jackson Smith-Njigba from Ohio State. And then are you putting Zay Flowers in there?
Yeah.
You got Jordan Addison, obviously, from USC. So you got 4 guys, basically.
And I feel like Zay might be the only one that might fall to 25.
I was about to say the same thing. Exactly. You took the words back out of my mouth now.
Must have been while you were kissing me.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to stop this. But yeah, like I said, to me, it's a matter of, if there's not a legit wide receiver 1, you don't reach. You just don't do it. So I'm thinking, what wide receiver 1's not going to be position we go unless either someone drops or we trade up to get one. And I do think, I haven't heard much about the trading up, but I do think that's an option on the table, because you don't go out and call Jordan Addison on a daily basis. You don't go ahead and have dinner and have Jackson Smith-Njigba go ahead and show up to pro day in the Giants hat, unless you're talking to these guys about, we might trade down for you. I'm telling you, I think that is a legit possibility.
It is. But also, like, let's also, like, be realistic. Like, what other positions do we need besides wide receiver?
And that's obviously, what I'm saying.
We don't have a wide one, right? We need a center.
Yeah. You got
center. We need a center.
So we'll go into that in a minute, because we're going to go over some of the guys. I don't want to ruin that joy. The other thing is corner.
Yeah.
Now, there's going to be, I honestly think there's going to be a run on corners in this draft. There's some really damn good corners in this draft. I think you're going to see like 5 or 6 corners taken in the first round. I think it's going to be that kind of draft.
I agree.
So,
and they won't be higher up in the draft like some of these receivers are.
Yeah. And you're going to see, I really do think you're going to see some corners still available the second, third round as well. So there's more depth there. It's more of a position that I'm comfortable with waiting on. But at the same point, even if there is depth, a corner you have a wide receiver, a corner you have a number 1 first round grade on will always be better than a third round grade guy. So what I mean by that is, yes, there's depth and you can go ahead and get yourself a corner later on, but he's not going to be the same quality as a guy you're to get in the first round. So the question you got to ask yourself is, giving up the quality that I'm going to get out of a first round corner to get a second or a third round instead, worth taking the center position. Because as Giant fans, we've talked forever, ever since pretty much Saquon's been drafted, about the topic of positional value. Center is not typically a first-round pick kind of thing. So I'm going to put it this way.
The last time...
Okay, go ahead.
The last time the Giants drafted a center in the first round was 1989. Shows you how often they draft a center in the first round.
Yeah, and I don't see us. I mean, I think the last one we actually put him in a second round was Weston Richburg, who ended up going to the Niners and never could stay healthy. Yes. What I think is going to happen personally is I think we're going to draft a corner in the first round unless we trade up for a wide receiver. And then I think at the second round is, again, a place that we're going to potentially maneuver up to get the center we want, or see where we hit in round 2 and who's available as far as wide receiver center and see what we want there. So let's break into these centers, though. How many licks does it take to get the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop?
A 1, a 2, a 3.
3. So first up is the guy that I hear so many Giants fans talking about as if he's like a guy that we're going to get for sure and he's going to look so great in a Giants uniform. John Michael Schmitz, not to be confused with John Jacob Hemmler Schleimer Schmitz. His name is my name too.
Both will look great in blue.
Yes. So kid's out of Minnesota. And I shouldn't even say kid. He's going to be 24 years old when he's a rookie in the league. So we talked about guys before that are 27, 28. He's not that much younger than these guys, only a couple of years. But he's a strong anchor. He's probably the most pro-ready center in this draft. And on top of that, he's a guy that has a lot of experience. The one issue with him is he's not very overly athletic. So if you want the center that's going to go ahead and, pull like a guard and go lead on the screen and stuff like that, he's not your guy. He's the big tubby guy who sits in the middle. Let's call it what it is. He's the big tubby guy who sits in the middle. There's nothing wrong with that. You got to build your offense around the personnel you have. Dable says it all the time. Shane says it all the time.
But you also have to look at the way the Giants set up this offense. I don't think they'll let the big tubby guy.
I don't think so either. I'm with you on that because if you look at what he's doing, he's getting a whole bunch of quick receivers, getting receivers that move around. There's going to be a lot of weird, quick, short routes, and that includes a lot of screens, guys. So either they're going to figure out a way to use him while not having the tubby guy move around, or they're going to pass on him because he doesn't fit the offense they want to do. So only time will tell because in the end, we don't know what's in Joe Shane's head. We don't. So, he's ranked, and I did this, did the rankings for you guys as well. He's ranked number 20 on the board. So, if we got him at 25, it's not the biggest thing not the worst thing in the world. But at the same point, that's not necessarily the good positional value, and that's where that comes into be. He's probably going to be a late first round, early second round kind of guy, I think. So,
probably.
That's what I'm thinking. Next up is a guy that I have seen us actually being mocked in the first round as well. And I'd be kind of ticked off we got him in the first round. It's too early, I think. Joe Tipman out of Wisconsin. Yeah. He's
great
the Badger.
Player.
Not to be confused with the Honey Badger, because the Honey Badger don't care. The Honey Badger don't give a shit.
Straight up, don't give a...
So, yeah, huge guy. This guy's big, dude. This is a guy that walks into the room and has to turn to get through a doorway. That's how big this guy is.
He puts a new name to Giant.
Yeah, he is 6'6" and over 300 pounds. This is a big guy. This is the guy that you see walk into a buffet and you're like, oh my God, no. It's no longer all you can eat.
Yeah, turn off the lights. We're closed.
Turn off the lights and I'll glow.
We're closed.
I was doing a Vanilla Ice thing. Never mind.
Ding, 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 ding.
No, stop.
And listen.
But yeah, like I said, huge guy. Very athletic for a size, too, surprisingly enough. But he does have some mechanical issues. So, the right coaching fixes those issues. between the two of these guys, because these are the two big names here, I'm going to say it this way. Tippmann has the higher ceiling, but Schmitz has the higher floor.
I agree. Yeah.
It's a matter of which one do you think is a better fit, and can you fix Tippmann's issues, and can you deal with Schmitz's deficiencies?
I mean, if you could draft Tippmann like in the second round, because we got 54?
I'd have to look at the pick number, but that would make sense to be around there, around 50.
I want to say we're around
there.
We're
pick 25 in the first round, so
yeah. So if we get him around, there. He's ranked at 38. So
yeah,
if you get him down there,
especially because again we talked about this, the center is not a high positional value, so therefore even if he's ranked 38, it means he's going to be available potentially at the end of the second because of the position he plays. So, next up we have Steve Avila out of TCU, and he's an interesting guy. I've seen some guys actually rank him number 1 as the center, but he's more of a guard. He could play center, but he's more of a guard. And I put him on the list because there's so many people out there that in draftland that do really like the guy a lot. But he's not the guy that I would personally go after. Like I said, I think he's better of a guard. He's very strong. He's very experienced. Again, another guy is not agile. I've also seen him have trouble with blitz pickup. We've had enough guys that have trouble with blitz pickup in the New York Giants. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. But like I said, I got him on there. So he's ranked at number 64. And then as my dad chimes in, what about Whippler? Hey, there he is. Jersey boy right there. Luke Whippler out of Ohio State.
Good segue.
Yes, it's almost like I planned it. Position number 99. Very smart. Nine. Very smart. Great in pass coverage, which is nice. A guy who actually can protect Daniel Jones and keep him off his tuchus. He needs to add some strength and power, though, for the run to be better for him. So a guy to keep an eye on for him to be in the gym if we draft him and get it with the strength conditioning coach, get that kind of stuff going. But that's always easier said than done because you don't think they thought of that at Ohio State. Again, this guy is not a first-round talent. He's not going to be perfect. I like him a lot, though. We talked about him, obviously, during our mock draft we did back on a Wednesday, which feels like so many days ago because we've been doing so many shows, but that was just back on a Wednesday. And we went with him in the third round. And I could definitely see that being an option. I could definitely see that being a guy that we draft.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah. So, next up, I have one more guy for you guys. Alex Forsythe out of Oregon. Now, if all of a sudden, everywhere we're picking, our guys start going, this is one guy who I think could develop into a good center in this league. But I did say develop. He's not a guy I'd want to start day one. If we got him, we'd have to go out and get ourselves a Sam Mustafa or a Billy Price kind of guy. At least
that's a guy
to start. Or go ahead and, trade for Kelly and have him sit behind him for a year. So, from Oregon, the Beavers, #Save Our Beavers. Smart, consistent. Another guy who needs to add strength as well. So he needs to get in the gym. He's occasionally, though, also had some balance issues. You watch some tape on him, and every so often somebody hits him in the right spot, and he kind of tips over like a teapot there. But not forwards, backwards.
Teapot, sure, and step. This is my handle.
You ever notice that when you do the teapot thing, it's almost like you're doing the walk like an Egyptian?
A little bit.
I just noticed that. It's weird. Like, I'm a little teapot, walk like an Egyptian.
Yeah, it's the elbow position.
It's just a little different in the motion. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm at a little Egyptian teapot.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, again, a guy that if we want to get a guy, we have to develop a little bit. Not bad. And again, we're talking pick 141. So this is a guy we're going to get in like the 4th, 5th round. So once you start going down that far, guys, you can't be counting on these guys to be your starter. Within the first 3 rounds, the guy that you need to see, something in year one. Past that, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
It's what it is. I could be wrong. There's speaking weird guy from round 6 if somebody drafts that becomes the next Creed Humphreys.
Brock Purdy.
You never know. Well, Creed Humphreys was a center, so I'm saying, and it was a 6th-round pick for the Chiefs. I'm still pissed we didn't get him because I wanted him. But like I said, this is a plan. I think is see where things develop, have a backup plan, and draft a center. I think that is the key. So to me, like I said, go out and get yourself a center in free agency. What center you get will determine what you need to get in the draft. If you got a guy that can start, it's not going to embarrass you, by all means, you can wait a little bit. If you got a guy in the mid to late rounds that you think is going to develop into a good good center in a year or two. If you end up with a guy who's more of a it'll work kind of player, like a Billy Price or a Sam Mustipher, or you get an older guy like Ronnie Hudson, that is probably going to get injured after a couple of games. Again, you can go out and get a better guy, put him in the bench for a couple of games if you need to kind of get him adjusted and accustomed to the NFL, and then bring him on board.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you don't want to draft just because of necessity and overdraft, or not get the right guy and have to draft late and try to start this guy. You're better off paying a guy veteran minimum, maybe $3 million, have him sit there, and then at least for 1 year, and then you don't have to it's kicking the can down the line, but you don't want to you don't want to worry about, are you drafting this guy? Is he going to play this year? What do you see? Am I invisible? What?
That was one. I was going to start the comments, and I hit it the first time by accident here. We still have a couple of comments. John Anderson, this is back when you disappear for a moment. He had to take care of something. Holy shit, Roberto was invisible. How did he do that? That's awesome. Let me just tell you, John, that this is the type of quality programming we bring to Two Giant Goofballs.
Right, you did it again.
Yeah, that's what happens. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. Oh, next thing you know, he's got my nose. As my dad chimes in with, no more slot receivers. It depends on the guy. Isaiah Flowers is a guy that I'm really not excited about or interested in. But if you get a guy like Jackson Smith-Njigba, would you probably have to trade up to get him? I know he played slot in college. I still think he could play outside in the NFL if he had to. I still think he's a top flight talent. I just do. There's something, I got this weird vibe off this guy. He's going to be really good. He also says good depth at CB, good depth at wide receiver. Yep. And then John gives us the rundown on all the picks. The pick 57. 57. I guess I knew it was in the 50s. So yeah. But like I said, guys, I think there's plenty of options for us at center. I think the big thing that people need to recognize. Oh yes, you better recognize.
Sucker.
Feliciano wasn't a good center. He wasn't a good center. And that's what started this whole conversation. Everybody going, oh my God, what are we going to do at center? Well, it doesn't matter what you do at center, because no matter what you do is probably an improvement. And I hate to be that flat out kind of disrespectful to a guy who did play for us and I'm sure tried hard. He's just not a good player. There's a reason they benched him in Buffalo. There's a reason that he should have been benched if there was anybody as halfway decent at a backup position for him, and half our team wasn't on the IR. He'd been benched with us too. He cost us the game. He did not play well. That's what happens. As Scott says, when I grow up, I'm going to marry Rob.
It's like I put a ring on it.
John says, Scott, he's Roberto now. Listen, I think it goes with the name, the Two Giant Goofballs. We definitely bring some goofballs out in the comments as well. That's for sure.
Where's Frankie, my other stalker? Frankie,
I know. It's like you got a whole group of stalker men here. I'm not sure what's going on here. But yeah, it's it's fun, guys. I love the comments. I love everybody gets involved with the show. I really do, because that's part of the reason we want to do everything live with you guys. Get everybody all involved that listens in. Get the questions answered. People are thinking, going, "Why the hell don't they answer this?" So
my comments are my fans
nice.
only.
yeah. Onlyfans.rob goofball.
Balls. Whoa.
No, I'm not there in that one. Neither is the right one. That's it.
I'm gonna pass that comment on. We're a family program.
Yeah, guys. So next up for you guys on Monday, we're going to go ahead and do, assuming no other news happens, we're going to go ahead and start finishing up the last of our positional reviews. So we have the safety position still to do on Monday. We then have the special teams we're going to do on Wednesday. And then we're going to go into, I think, a little more draft content for you guys here. But we have a couple of things we could potentially do. So we still got to mull it over and figure that out. So don't hold me to it. You never know.
Not hold you to it.
Oh. Trying to hold me again. But like I said, there's a lot of options we could do. So we still have some other options. And, we have a couple of things planned, obviously, for the slower part of the year as well, too. So I don't want to give up too much here. But we are definitely not gonna be that podcast that disappears on you guys as things kind of start to slow down there, as they tend to do in the late spring, early summer there. In between when, after the mini camp, before the preseason, that kind of stuff. But we got some good stuff going for you guys. So keep everybody posted by hitting that bell on YouTube, hitting the like and subscribe everywhere you possibly can. Keep in mind, we are live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, along with Twitch and my LinkedIn profile. I wonder how people are trying to find my LinkedIn profile now to see if this is legit. It is legit, folks. It's actually on my LinkedIn profile. Some of you may be watching now. So, also, we are, of course, available on every single audio platform known to man. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Deezer, Weezer, Caesar, Beezer.
We're all over the podcast.
I don't know. There's so many different names for those. I didn't even know half these platforms, to be very frank, until we started this up. So, yeah. But like I said, we're on them all. So if we're not on the one that you listen to, you must listen to some weird, obscure one. You need to get with the times here, people, and you need to go ahead and get to a platform that we're on, because that's the important part. If we're not on, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So again, guys, subscribe. Feel free to like on all the different platforms you want, because if you're like me, you probably listen to sometimes things. You watch sometimes things. So I myself, I have a lot of people that I follow on YouTube, and I follow them on audio, on Apple Podcasts, what I use. But like I said, whichever platform you prefer to use it. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Again, thank you also to my dad, Kevin Davis, for sponsoring this show here. And if you guys are interested in sponsoring the show, again, the website is buymeacupofcoffee.com
/2giantgoofballs.
buymeacupofcoffee.com /2giantgoofballs. Again, that's buymeacupofcoffee.com /2giantgoofballs. And we do appreciate everybody again for listening in, whether you donate or not. Obviously, we appreciate both if you do both as well. So, the biggest thing really, if you guys want to help us out, is share the program. No matter what platform you're on, you can share it out. You can go ahead, if you're on Facebook, share it right out from our page. You can go ahead and share and retweet it on Twitter. You can go ahead and send the link to a friend or a family member that is a big Giant fan off of YouTube.
Just be like John. John sends it everywhere. We appreciate
John does. John is like the share master over there.
Yeah,
like every single episode you share, and definitely appreciate it, man. So again, guys, thank you very much for listening in again. And as always, fellow goofballs, go G-Men! G-Men!
G-Men and tight.
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support. If you made it this long, you must have enjoyed it. So I am sure you have followed us on all the social media platforms. Of course, you have subscribed to the show on your favorite app as well and given us a top rating. Right? Right? Right?